Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Safa, Karu. Welcome back. This video is entitled Strawman Civilizations, and basically I named it that because I'm going to be dealing with, in this video, the pseudo civilizations, or aka nations, that we see today, that are modern nations. Also, the ancient civilizations that are spoken about in different texts and television shows and things like that. I'm going to show you how all that stuff is just based on a bunch of lies and a bunch of misinterpretations of Bible verses and things of that nature. So, here we go. Now, I think I just want to start off with Israel because it seems to be a big topic of discussion today. You have a lot of people who understand that there are a group of people in Palestine today that don't belong there, and that's obvious. So what we need to understand is just the way that Israel was created not too long ago, maybe close to 70 years ago or something like that. We also need to understand that when you see a name of a nation in the Bible and you see it here on earth, understand that that same process has happened to that place. For example, Assyria, Jordan, Damascus. These are not the original names of these places. These places were renamed after the Bible. You understand? So Ethiopia, let me see what I have in some of the places right here in my notes. Spain, Damascus, Jordan, Greece, Egypt, Syria, Jerusalem, Macedonia, Rome, King Solomon, Queen of Sheba, Cush, Arabia, the sect of people who call themselves Jews, Libyan, let's see what else we have, India, Asia, Italy, Xerxes, all these different civilizations that's supposed to be, I guess, ancient. And then we have some that show up as modern civilizations, but the reality is they're all connected through the pages of the Bible, and the Bible is not a literal book. The Bible is telling the story of one soul as it progresses from lower nature to higher nature. So that's essentially what the book is about. It's not about anything literal. It's not about a real person or real people. I mean, the one real person it's talking about is you on your journey. So that's very important to understand. Most people don't have a true understanding of how to read the text. The text is esoteric writing, like occult style scripting. It's not a literal book. People need to understand that. So, instead of arguing over if a character in the Bible is black, or if the character is white, or if the character is Semite, or whatever, whatever words we want to argue about, what we really need to understand is what these pages are really describing. You pay close attention, then you can see. But as long as you're using the programming you receive, it's very hard. You look at it as literal, and then you get, sidetracked. So, I say, one thing I want to discuss here is that, for example, people need to understand that when you deal with these, understand that this in turn right here with all these different civilizations being named from the Bible shows you that we're dealing with this one world government thing right now. Okay? It's not a coincidence that you have all these different nations from the Bible that exist today. Okay? They're not just here just because. It's because some entity behind the scenes is running all this, and this is all being set up by one group of people. So for everyone who thinks like with this new world order thing and all that, they think it's going to be, they're looking for a one world government, they're looking for a one world religion and stuff like that. But I guess the thing that I'm trying to say is the one world government is already here, because all these governments are one government. The same things that you see going on in this country is going on in that country. All of them promote propaganda to the people, fake shootings, fake bombings, fake everything. They fake domestic stuff against their own people to pass laws and scare them into doing things and take their energy from them. They all are doing it. They're all set up by the same, they use the same number scripting and then they had this connection with the Bible. So for all you people who are looking for someone to set up some building and say this is going to be the one world government, they have you looking for something that's never going to come in that form. The one world government has already been here. It has been here for a long time, probably before a lot of people that are living today were even born, I'm sure. Also, the one world religion, it already exists. It is religion itself. It's not about Christianity or Islam or Judaism or Buddhism. It's not about that. It's about religion itself. And not only just what we call religion, but the religious thought. I think it's very detrimental for a person to have religious thought. Not about necessarily Christianity or Islam or anything like that. I mean more like just the thought itself about life. Science is a religion. History is a religion. There's a lot of blind belief that goes with science. There's no way you could ever prove to someone that the sun is 93 million miles away. You could never prove that. You can just satisfy a person's level of understanding, and that would be enough. There's no way you could prove it, because you can't take anybody out there and ride them out there for them to count. They just would have to trust you. Just like you can't prove a lot of their history. They go find a dinosaur and they say, oh yeah, this dinosaur was, 68 million years old. We know because we did this test and we put it in here, shook it up, and it came out and it was, it was 66 million, 68 million or whatever, But that's not proof. That's just them saying it and you just believe and you trust them. Okay, so in turn, a person who believes in a character from a book is no different than a person who believes in a character in a science book or a character in a history book, because a lot of this stuff is controlled by the same group. That's very important to understand when you're dealing with a lot of this stuff. So I really stress the whole concept of thinking for yourself. Okay, there's nothing devilish about that. There's nothing evil about you having your own organic thoughts. Okay, all these different groups and teachings don't encourage you to think for yourself. Everything has to be, if it is your own thought, then it's not truly yours. It is like a thought that you create off the existence of another thought that was implanted in you. So it's not your own thought. It's like if I gave you a story, if I gave you a book that I wrote and you came up with a million different scenarios off of that story, so they're not your thoughts. I mean, they're your thoughts, but they're your thoughts off of the framing of what I've given you. We need to get out of the framing, get out of the box, step out of all their programming, and start to form your own thoughts about what is going on in this world today. Okay? So, like I was saying earlier about the Bible, these are things I'm just going to tell you about the Bible to just show you what they really mean in some of these stories. Like Cain kills Abel. Okay? You need to understand again. There is no such thing as a Cain, there's no such thing as an Abel. Cain kills Abel, and then he's banished from paradise, I guess where they were at, and he's, going to the land of Nod. Essentially, Nod just means exile, but understand, us as people, this is the transformation we go through on our journey. Cain represents the lower self, Abel represents, the God mind, the higher self. And you're expelled from paradise. This is how this works. Paradise would be, the balance, the one, the all. Once the lower part of yourself, which in most of the people that live on this world today, the lower self takes over the higher self, then you have fragmented that. You have created a situation for yourself where you can no longer experience paradise. You are banished to exile in your own thoughts. And this is what happens, So that is one thing that you need to understand about that story. It's not about a real person. These all stories about you as an individual and your progress on this journey. I always say, like, the Israelite story, that is another story that is about us also. And I don't mean us as in a particular person. I just mean every individual on a journey. The Israelites, they go through a lot of wars and everything on the way just to get back home to Israel. Again, Israel represents the highest mind. It represents the paradise. So they're trying to get back home, and they got a lot of fights, a lot of things, which just represent the things that you go through as an individual on your journey. the things within you. The biggest fights that you have in this world are not with a person who hates you for what you look like, or a person that's a different sex than you, or a person that has different beliefs than you. Your biggest obstacles are fought from within. So that's essentially what that story is about. They even made a movie that was basically a play on the Israelites story called The Warriors. And I'm sure, I don't know if many people remember that movie. It's an old movie, but that's what The Warriors was about. These guys were trying to get back home to where they were from, and on the way home, they had to fight hella gangs. All these gangs would come and they wanted to fight them and all that, but it's a symbolic story. All these stories are very beautiful if you truly understand them for what they mean. So that's essentially what that is as far as they go. But let's see. Again, Adam and Eve is the same thing. It's always two, the duality, the high and the lower self. You know, again, you have Eve and Adam. You know, it's always going to be this duality thing. You know, so people need to really understand that these stories, and if you know anything about numerology, then it would really serve you well if you don't know anything about numerology to really get into it, because you could really understand why certain numbers pop up in the Bible the way they do. You know, it's not a coincidence. Don't think they took a real story and mixed it with a bunch of tricky stuff. It's not. It's really not. You know. So I encourage you, please, to get into it on a deeper level. And I may do some posts on it later. I'm not sure. It depends if people want to see it. Some posts on it, breaking down some of these verses and showing people exactly what is going on in some of these verses. But for now, let me just touch on this for a second. These are some things about the Bible that I noticed too. Like, they say that the Bible is written by Francis Bacon. And again, Francis Bacon, he has a lot of connections that are just stand out. Like, his name, Francis Bacon, when you write it out in simple gematria, equals 105. And these are some other words that have a 105 gematria. Masonry, Zionism, God's Word, I am the Lord, 9/11, and Hallelujah, in modern Hebrew. All of those words have a 105 gematria. You know, definitely not a coincidence. Another thing about this that stands out to me, we all know the Bible is made up of 66 books. And again, we know that when you take the word 33 and you write it out THIRTY, THREE, in Pythagorean gematria, that word has a value of 66. So 33 and 66 always connect to each other whenever you see it. Another thing, 666 is a number that people, I don't know if people are really fear it or not, but 666 is not necessarily anything evil per se, but what it is this: the number 9 represents the illusion. Okay, there are so many things. I think people should look up the number 9 and the connected thing with it as far as illusion. You know, 9 is a number that very much so indicates an illusion. Now, 666, 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. So remember, when you deal with 666, you're dealing with the illusion. Not necessarily bad or good. It's just the illusion. Okay? So remember now how 666 is portrayed in the Bible, or how most people that read the Bible portray 666. Check this out. I was looking up some things on the Bible, and this is what I found. Let's see. Okay, in the original King James Version, you find a cover page, and then you find a blank page. Okay. From that first blank page, you have actually 33 pages of actual writing, and then you come to another blank page. So within 2 blank papers, you have 33 pages of writing, scripts and stuff like that, right? Scriptures, I mean. From that last blank page to the last blank page in the book itself, you have another 633 pages of writing. So what happens is, essentially, you have 33 pages plus 633 pages. That is 666 pages. So understand that coding is in the Bible. I'll repeat that again. When you first open the book, you have a cover page and you have a blank page. From that first blank page to the next blank page, in between them is a 33 pages of actual writing. From that second blank page to the end of the book, that last blank page, you have 633 pages. Okay, 666. So it's definitely a well coded out book, not to mention all of the numerology and gematria all through the book. You know, and again, I'm not attacking the Bible. I'm just doing these things to show you that the people who created the Bible were doing more than just writing a literal story. Okay, now I could go into it much deeper, but I really don't feel like that's really necessary to really get into per se the Bible as much as I really want to get into what they're doing with the Bible. So, okay, like I said, we have nations like, what are these nations? Oh yeah, we have nations like Jerusalem and Spain and Macedonia and Egypt and Caesar Augustus, Syria. You know, we live in a world where they've taken the Bible and they've created a reality around the Bible. So it's not just Israel that is a place that should stand out to you as, hold up, why is Israel here? Why do they have Israel here? Israel before 1947 didn't exist on earth. It has never existed here. Okay, regardless of what you've been taught as far as your programming, the country or state or whatever you want to call it, Israel has never existed in actual physical form. It's never been here. Now, Israel is the thing that people notice a lot, but you have to realize that all the other countries that are named from the Bible, it is the same thing. None of them have ever been here, you know, in physical form until after these people decided to use the Bible as like a play sheet to create reality around. And this shows me that because these countries are all over the world, it's not like they're just in one side of town, they're all over the world. So hence you have your one world government already here today. You know, this is here. You're looking for a building or some kind of thing where they set up where they let you know that this is the one world government. They're never going to do that. It's never going to happen. You know, you're never going to get to that point where they, you know, you're looking for one thing, meanwhile something else is happening. You know, the one world government has been here for many years. And I want people to really open their eyes and look and see. Get out of all the beliefs and the egotism about everything. Everything is not about your ego and about how something makes you feel as an individual. A lot of people hold on to these stories for emotional reasons. A lot of people hold on to these stories because they think the story is describing them. A lot of people hold on to the story because they think the story is describing someone that they believe to be a real person. You know, you have to understand that what you believe essentially does not matter, you know, when it comes to all of this. If I wrote a book and I told you about the Smurfs and the Jetsons and the Thundercats, you know, no matter how much you wanted to make these people real, they are not real. But what you can do is create this reality in your own mind. And if you have enough people that believe these stories, then this is what you'll have. And that's effectively what is going on around the world. Not just in America, but all over the world. You have billions of believers, not just in religion per se, but in history, in science, and millions of things they can't prove and never will be able to prove. That's very dangerous. You know, that's where we at today. So, like I said, I want you to understand, there is no ancient place called Greece. There is no ancient place called Egypt. There is no ancient place called Rome. Okay? There is no ancient place called Persia. You understand? These places come out of the Bible. And I know a lot of people will say, well, they have other sources. You know, they have alternative sources. They're not just in the Bible. Absolutely. But guess what? The other source that you're getting them from, it's all the same thing. You understand? It comes from, if the source doesn't come from the Bible, the source comes from a philosopher from one of the civilizations that come out of the Bible. So you might have, like, for example, think for the Persians, I'm not sure because I'm not 100% sure about this, but maybe like for the, as far as Greek or as far as Persian history or Greek history, one of them wrote about each other. So maybe like a Greek philosopher will write about the Persians, or the Persian philosopher will write about the Greeks. You know, but you gotta understand there is no Persians or any Greeks to write about either way, because they come from the Bible. They're just a creation. It's not real. Okay, there's no Akkadian history or Hittite history or Moabite history. That's not a real thing. It's never been a real thing. It never will be a real thing. You know, it's just not. Like I said again, they have created everything around the Bible. So they put a date on a book. Like they take a book and they say, this book comes from the year 12,000 BCE. And it was written by, I don't know, Plato or whoever, you know, Socrates. You know, they are creating history. So they give you the name. In actuality, all this stuff is like probably no more than maybe 300 years old. A bunch of little pen names they use to create history. They're writing it retroactively. They write it and then they put a date on it that goes back much further than what it really is, to establish a civilization. So this is reality. You need to know, like, and I've told this to people, and people say, well, prove it to me. See, the thing that you always have to understand, and this is one of the most profound quotes I've ever heard, you can never ask someone to disprove something that's never been proven. Okay? Persian history has never been proven. Okay? Egyptian history, as far as what you know about the history, if you know about the history and the historical timeline comes from one guy, Budge. Look him up. Budge is a Freemason, and he created the timeline in the history for Egypt that people go by today. Also, the deciphering of the hieroglyphs in Egypt come through German scholars, French scholars, people who are not from Egypt. I've yet to ever meet a person that came from that side of the world that did any deciphering that I've seen. You know. So what I have seen is a group of people who have made it their business to control history. They always seem to be in a certain place. I'm not talking about color here. I'm just talking about a group of people that are protecting their own interests. Now, you know, if you know anything about archaeological digs or things like that, like even when they go to the pyramids, whether they're in Mexico, Asia, understand that all digs, all archaeological things are paid for. They're funded by an interest group. And the results of what they find will always reflect the interest of the guys controlling the group. So, if I'm a trillionaire and I fund a exploration to Brazil to find dinosaur bones, my money will make sure that whatever you find says exactly what I want it to say. You must remember that, okay? If you didn't know that, then now you do. Just remember, when you see these stories, this is the Dead Sea Scrolls, or whatever. Do you really believe for a second that so many thousands of years that went by and some guy just went scrolling by and found some scroll just sitting off in the water somewhere? You really believe that? I mean, really, I'm saying if you believe things like that, then it gets to a point where I say you must question yourself as an individual more so than the people who are lying to you, because they only can lie but so much. But certain things, they must stand out to you as awkward. Like, how is it that the same groups, the same people that appear all over the place, how do they continue to find these things? Just like most people probably didn't know that the Egyptian hieroglyphs, some of the translations and the glyphs show up in the U.S. Patent Office. I have a PDF in my phone of the Patent Office book, and they have some, you can look this up. They have some patents, some things patented in Egypt, some hieroglyphs. And they were like, they had been using the hieroglyph in the translation since, I think, 1903, 1906, something like that. So you see, they've been creating history as they go. I'm not saying that there were no people in that side of town that what you call Egypt. No, there probably was people there, but the fact is you don't know their story. You can't read their writing. I don't care what class you took, who hustled you out of your money and told you they could teach you. The reality is, without the actual people that wrote it, how do you read it? You know, how do you, this is like a gang sign or something. How do you, me being from DC, how do I go to Oakland, California, and some dudes from Oakland write some stuff on the wall, but it's not writing. You know, we talking about pictures here, just some pictures of this, and that. And, you know, these are very occult symbols, not like obvious things like guns or things like that. I mean, very specific symbols that represent something that only the little gang knows about. How is it? I don't care if you're a master at language or not. How is it that I can go there and just look at it with no help and just tell you what it means? It's an impossible to do. The only people who believe that it's not impossible to do is those who have that want for believing in something. And you have to get out of that. You have to understand sometimes it's okay not to know. Don't just fill your head with anything just for the sake of knowing. You know, that common sense has to take over at a certain point in someone's mind where they realize that, hold up, something's not right here. Okay? You can't go crack a language that is symbols and you don't even speak that language. You don't know anybody who speaks it. Okay? You just walk there, look, take you a couple days and you come back, okay, I know now. This boat means J, this piece of water means A, and this means Y. I know it. You know, you can't believe that. I mean, it's no way that you can honestly say that can just fly past you like that. So I'm telling you to think for yourself, please. Yeah, so like I said, Greece, all these different countries, your understanding of Greece history, Egyptian history, Roman history, Persian, all that is a Hollywood film. They've created that and they've sold you on all this imagery, all these different things, all through movies and books, and have made billions of dollars doing it. That's what it is. You're looking at a circus attraction. Okay? Again, like I told you, the true history of what went on in all these different places all over the world are not known to the average person. And they're not told to you in History Channel television shows or things like that. And you can't believe these little scholar guys that go to these different places, because at the end of the day, they all work for universities or contracted out by universities, or they're buddies with the guys that work at the universities or somewhere in academia. Okay, so none of these guys are out there bringing any actual authentic readings or any authentic anything. Everything they bring is something from the people before them. And the people before them were crooks. So, you know, understand that. You know, you need to really understand and get out of all this. It's like this ego thing, you know, where a person feels like they're going to own that story because it makes them feel better about themselves. It gives people stuff to identify with. You know, I'm sure a person from Greece would probably say, "Oh, this dude sounds crazy." Of course, the ancient Greece was a real thing, and I seen some statues here, and I seen this, and I seen that, so I know. You know, it's an ego thing. But in reality, what I'm telling you is that no, there was no such thing as ancient Greece or ancient Greece people. There was no ancient Egyptians. There was no ancient Romans. There was no that's not real. All that is based on esoteric writing. I'm telling you that now again. You know, the Roman. That's why they say, oh, what they say? How does it go? The Egyptians had it first, and the Greeks stole it from the Egyptians, and the Romans took it from the Greeks. How about this? The same people that created the Greek stuff created the Egyptian stuff and created the Roman stuff. And when I say created, I mean created. Because your understanding of those civilizations and the other ones that come all on these television shows and all, they all come through media. Not many of these people who can regurgitate this stuff so well can actually tell you that they truly know this stuff. They just regurgitating it. You know, that public school syndrome stuff, where someone tells you and you memorize it good enough to the point where you can just regurgitate it so well. And that's what we are experiencing today. So, again, I'm not trying to disrespect what anyone believes. I'm just telling you to think beyond the limits that have been set up for you. Again, not saying that there was no human activity in these areas, because like I said, again, I'm pretty sure that's not the case. I'm just telling you that what you know as Greek history, Roman history, Egyptian history, Persian history, Arabian history, Julius Caesar, what is this? Israeli history, Jordan history, Ethiopian history, Asian history. It's not real, okay? It's nothing. Like I told you before, the word history itself has a 74 gematria. History. Just like the word Masonic, And with 4th of July getting ready to come up on July the 4th, here we go, the 7th month and the 4th day, 7-4. You see, you live in a world that's been scripted. Everything has been scripted out for you. Also with July 4th, if you, July 4th, 1770, if you were to write it out, check this out for the numerology. This is the date, 4/7/1776. Check this out. 4 plus 7 plus 1 plus 7 plus 7 plus 6 equals 32. Now, that is the day that America is supposed to declare its independence from Britain, right? The word America has a Pythagorean gematria of 32. It's not a coincidence. You see? This is your reality. It's not what you think. None of this is organic. It's just somebody behind the scenes pulling every string, making everything happen. Let's establish Jerusalem here. Let's establish Assyria here. Let's establish Israel here. This is what they've done. This is what they have done. They have brought the Bible to life. And now they have people caught up in an end times prophecy. The end times, let me tell you right now, is a complete sham, because there will never be an end time. This will never end. Okay? The only thing that will happen is that you will think it's ending and you will do nothing. Okay? The whole end times prophecy is to make you think that, through media is what they're using, which they heavily program you with the media. They're making you think that, for example, the earthquake, right? You might have an earthquake and they may show you some stat on the news. It's like, yeah, this earthquake was a 7.9. This was the worst earthquake we had in 70 years. Can you believe it? Man, it's like the sign of the times. And then a person thinks, this might be the sign of the times. This is really happening. We were having a lot of bad weather. And, because they sensationalize you with all these TV programs, you start to think that. When in reality, you can never really prove to a person how you measure these earthquakes. I mean, it can show you a million different things. It can show you, it was a 4.1, it was a 7.7, it was a 2.3. You don't know what it is. You don't know. So forget the measurements. Forget if this is the first time this happened in 100 years, this is the first time this happened in 200 years, forget all of that. Forget that, because what they're trying to do is program you. If you believe in end times, or you believe we are in those times, it makes you even more passive than you've already been, and most of you have been extremely passive. I'm talking about people who won't do anything, won't stand up for themselves because they believe they need to wait for someone to come back and give them the nod, okay, you can do something, or matter of fact, don't do anything. I'm going to do it for you. You have to really understand, again, as an adult. Now, a 6-7-year-old kid is one thing, but as an adult, that is extremely detrimental to the mind to have that type of thinking. Okay? There's no way you can justify as an adult that you're going to see evil and not address it for the simple fact that you're waiting on somebody else to address it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Okay? This is not about beliefs. This is not about anything like that. This is about you as an individual making your presence felt. Okay, you have a brain for a reason. Not to act, you don't have a brain to act as if you don't have a brain. Everything that your creator has given you, he's given you for a reason. Please make sure you use your brain. And a brain is like a computer. It's one of those things where in order to fill it up with the right information, you have to delete old files. So it's not so much about, you need to learn what's going on, but a lot of people need to deprogram themselves from a lot of the nonsense, a lot of the worshiping men, looking at these men and putting these men on these pedestals and putting these people on these pedestals as if these people, and I'm not talking about in religion. I just mean a lot of people always want a leader, always want someone to lead them, Lead yourself, okay? Be your own leader. Give your kids something to aspire to be. Don't have your kids looking past you to look to the next person. Because essentially, when they have kids, they'll do the same thing, okay? Give your kids a strong example of someone to look up to. Be the leader. Lead yourself. Lead your families, okay? Think for yourself. Stack your money and put your money in something that will help you, okay? Stop giving your money away to companies and groups of people who do not have your interests, okay? Because what they do is they take your money and use your money to condition you even further with sports leagues and things like that. So here we are today in a world where we've effectively established the Bible on earth. A lot of people think this is real. A lot of people believe the nonsense history that you have, which is not real. I'm going to say that again. It's not real, okay? These civilizations are not real. They never were real. Again, not real. Okay. So, free yourself from all this. Step outside of this box. Stop always trying to hold on something to believe in it and all that. Please, do yourself that and step away from all of this. Okay, learn to study how to really study. Travel. Put your money up and travel instead of worry about buying designer clothes. Travel the world so that when you speak on something, that you have a better understanding of it. A lot of people just are like master regurgitators. They can regurgitate in a heartbeat. It's like learning a song. They heard it enough, they played it enough on YouTube, and now they remember. And they can regurgitate it so quick, but the reality is, deep down inside, you do not know that for a fact. Okay? And it seems to me like most people really don't want to know the truth. They just want to have something to say about knowing the truth. It's not so much do I really want to know. I don't really care about knowing. I just want to have something to say to feel like I'm contributing to the conversation. So I'm telling you that these are things that people need to really understand. Okay? Zionism and things like that goes much deeper than just Israel. Due to the fact that you have an Ethiopia on this planet means that this system has already been here. Due to the fact that you have a Syria, a Jordan, a Jerusalem, due to the fact that these places that are not real places are here on earth, meaning someone came and later, after the Bible established them on earth, is telling you that, hey, man, this is happening, man. Whether you want to admit it or not, it's been going on. You've been in a one world system. It's already been here. All your leaders are controlled. It doesn't matter if it's from the left or the right, up or down. It does not matter. All your leaders are controlled. All the guys they roll out for you and feed you with in the news, they're nothing but puppets. I was watching this thing on TV the other day about Bill Gates, and I was telling someone this guy's just an actor. This guy doesn't, these guys don't run anything. They every once in a while they bring out guys like him. That's part of this whole scripted reality. I said, yeah, look at Zuckerberg. Most people think this is like some real college kid that did this and did that. Well, if you a closer look at him, do you see he's not? Look at his birthday. His birthday is May 14th, 1984. That date should stand out to anyone who knows about Israel, because the date of Israel's birth is May 14th, 1948. Same day. They just flipped the 4 and the 8 around the backside of the date. So you see, he is just an actor with this scripted birthday. This is how they create reality. And I don't want to mean like I'm trying to change subjects or anything, but I'm just trying to show you how all this is connected. How they are creating reality as they go. And to further sustain everything that they put in these books, they use like frontmen, like a Zuckerberg, but they use them in science. They use them in history. They use them as pen names for people who pop up throughout history. So, like I said again, there's no such thing as a Greek history or ancient Greek people. So when you read something like a writing from Pluto, there's no such thing as a Pluto because there's no such thing as ancient Greeks. When you read an ancient Roman writer, there can never be an ancient Roman writer because there are no ancient Romans. So what you have is a more modern group of people writing as the ancient Romans, as the ancient Egyptians, as the ancient Greeks. You know, when they say that they come across a translation, that is their writing, okay? Because they are not translating anything. They don't even have to translate anything because you're not going to challenge them to translate anything. They just can tell you and you'll just go for it. They don't need to be so complex with you because you're so simple. They have firmly engineered you to be such a simple thinking person. Even as an adult, most of us don't have an IQ that expands past a child. This is a reality. So, you know, again, it's something that I want people to really understand about this. You know, a lot of people think that a certain war been going on because you saw it in the Bible. I've heard people say, oh, you know, the people over there in Gaza, you know, they've been warring ever since something in the Bible. It's like, what? Stuff in the Bible is just, that's not literal, man. You know, they haven't been warring since then because the stuff in the Bible is not about a reality. It's about a consciousness. That's it. You know, this is another thing I want to also too. This is something that I just recently did a post on, and I'll put this in the description box as well. Talking about when it says in the Bible that God created he created the earth on 7 days, really 6, and took a rest on the 7th. But I'm just going to show you again, when I'm trying to tell you that the Bible is not literal, I'm going to show you what I mean. Okay. So let's check this out. It says on the first day, God separated light from the darkness. This is what I'm writing now. Day 1 actually represents the first month of the Hebrew calendar, Nisan, i.e. Aries. In Aries, or Day 1, or Nisan, which is all the same thing, the light is separated from the darkness, but not by the exterior figure Yahweh, but via the spring equinox. At this time, the spring equinox, or the first day of creation, the ecliptic rises above the equator and establishes equal duration of day and night throughout the earth. Okay? So pay close attention to what they're saying in that verse, and they're telling you exactly what they mean. It's not talking about a literal exterior person creating the earth. Okay? No, it's talking about the creative aspects of the 7 powers of the universe working with the 7 luminaries to establish what you call physical reality. So it's not talking about nobody creating anything. You know what I mean? This is the second example. On the 4th day, it states that God said, "Let there be lights across the sky to distinguish day from night." Day 4 represents the 4th month of the Hebrew calendar, Tammuz, or Cancer. During this cycle of Cancer, Day 4 or Tammuz, all the same thing again, we experience the summer solstice, in which the ecliptic is at its highest point and is displayed just as is written in the verse. The summer solstice is the "let there be light" across the sky that is mentioned. So as we can see, this story has nothing to do with literal creation, but more of an understanding of the creative aspects that regulate the physical reality. Okay? So when you start to understand the metaphysics of the Bible, you really understand that for a person to take a story like this and try to pass it off as reality, this person is disrespecting you. A person is playing with your mind, toying with your mind now. And he essentially has no respect for you. Because he probably thinks that, well, I'm not going to say that, but I'll just put it this way. They don't respect you. So I encourage everyone to think for themselves. And if anybody wants me to stop putting some verses up there and start to look at some verses or whatever, you know, I can do that too. Because there's a lot of work that I've done on breaking down verses of the Bible on my Google page. I have a blog on there, and I show you what these verses truly mean. There's other people out there doing this work also. But the reason why I do it again is not to attack the Bible, but to show people to not take it literally. So when you see something that someone's trying to pass off as literal from the Bible, you can say, hold up now. That's not what's going on here. You know, excuse me. It would almost be like watching a movie, a Tom Cruise movie, and then, you know, you see a person, you know, a year later, and he presents himself the same exact way that Tom Cruise did in the movie with the character's name and everything, you know? The same thing, I guess, like how they show you something on The Simpsons, and then a couple years later it happens in real life. Or on Family Dad or American Guy, you see an episode where someone dies, and then they die on, supposedly die in real life, you know? That's what they're doing. So, you know, again, this is 45 minutes. I'm into this video. I'm going to close out here. And I'll be back for maybe a part 2 of this. I'm not sure exactly how I'll continue it, but I will continue it some sort of way. So again, thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe to the channel. I'll be bringing a lot of good info here. And again, like I said, I'm not trying to cause any problems with anyone. I'm not here, you know, going against anyone, you know. I just care about the truth, and I want everyone to have the truth. I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you're from, what you believe. I don't care. I believe that everyone should have an opportunity to have the truth in their possession. And after you get the truth, I feel like you can do whatever you want to with it then. But I'm going to just give you the truth. I don't belong to any group, any special way of thinking, or anything like that. I don't have any allegiance to anything, so there's nothing I cannot say, or there's nothing, you know, where I feel like I don't want to say this because it kind of goes against, you know, I don't have that. So with me, you just want to get the raw truth. I don't care if it offends a person who looks like me, or I don't care if it offends a person who's from my neighborhood, or I don't care if it offends a person who's, you know, whoever went to school with me. It doesn't matter. You know, just like I don't care about a person, I don't care if it offends a person who doesn't look like me. You know, I'm doing this for all the people who are like-minded, because that's the most important thing, what's going on here. You know, the people who are trying to elevate their consciousness, elevate their way of thinking, and elevate their perception of reality. This is what this is for. I feel like everybody should really be striving for that. So, you know, I'm going to close out here. You know, peace. Everybody, y'all take it easy. And like I said, please subscribe. And, you know, check me out on my next videos. All right, peace.